case I saw a couple of weeks ago, actually, there was someone who, or a lot of people do that apparently, they change their email address regularly. They changed 2005 to 2006 in the end, and then they send an email to everybody who, so they change their contact information. And if you want to find this particular email that I'm thinking about, you can go to the online mailing list archives of the Debian project, because the email is in the archives there, and any spammer who harvests email from the Debian mailing list archive already has his new email address, so I guess they're getting all the spam again that they got in their old email address. Yeah, so pretty much, of course you can invent your own filters, but chances are they're not going to work, or you're just going to annoy people with your own private ideas, so stick to the ones that people know, so we're all communicating on the same protocols. So that's the technical side. The other problems with the email filtering is the privacy. There's a lot more new data gathered that you might not like people to have. For example, word databases, Bayesian filter word databases, or any kind of statistics that you keep. You can look into that word database and see how many times people talk about Al-Qaeda, simply. Gray listing databases also keep track of whom emailed whom at what time, and of course that information is available in different places too. You have the regular server log files already contain that information, but if you go into organizations that you know, they have very strict rules about what to do with their log files. They can only keep them for a certain time, and they have to be encrypted, and they have to be stored away and hidden in a locked room, but they don't know anything about these other databases, the Bayesian databases and the gray listing databases, and they're not secured at all, or they don't even exist officially, and all the information in there is not secured at all. There's, what I did not talk about is a filtering mechanism called DCC, Distributed Checksum Clearinghouse, which counts how many times an email has been sent on the internet. And if you follow their theory, then if an email has been sent more than a certain number of times, maybe 1 million, then it might be considered bulk email. And I think that works well. But the problem you have there now, if you get an email, you can check how many times that email has been sent. So if you get an email from your business partner for Christmas, as has been popular in the last couple of weeks, and you can check how many times that email has been sent, and then you can see how many business partners that guy has, for example. So that kind of things you also have to consider. I mentioned the challenge response transaction records also being kept and probably not secured. And as I mentioned, using SPF and blocking port 25, one or the other or both, then ISPs can control which way you route your email, and making sure you send it through their server logs, through their server, which is logged, and they forward it directly to the NSA. And all of this is controlled not by you, but by the ISP, and the ISP does not particularly care about your privacy, at least most of them don't. So all this database gathering is done in your ISP, and you cannot control it. Now, if you listen, I mentioned I was at a congress on spam fighting in Köln in September. And apparently what people are doing now, if they start a new spam initiative, the first thing they do is build a database. And nowadays, everybody is building databases. Starting with the spam filter manufacturers, of course, they have huge databases of spam just to tune their products, of course. But now you also see governments and industry associations building databases of spam, and they ask you to forward their spam to them. Maybe you've heard of the Federal Trade Commission in the US. They have an email address where you can forward spam. And in Germany, it's rather new. You have the ECO, which is the Association of German Internet Enterprises, and the Wettbewerbszentrale, which is a fair trade organization in Germany. And this is just a couple of examples in other countries too, likely. And with that, you don't know what they do with that. Once they gather that, they know at what time you were home, and who tried to email you, and what email client you use, and what IP address you had at a particular time. And ever since the EU Data Retention Directive, this is sort of trivial, I guess, but these are additional databases that keep getting built, and which allow people to profile you. And these are going to be shared internationally. There's already a so-called European spam box project underway, which basically discusses or protocols or ways all these databases can be shared, so you get more databases and bigger databases. And those are impossible to control. If you think about these things that are now being discussed for the EU Data Retention Directive, those things will likely be able to control and be able to be controlled in some way, because they are sort of an official database being established for purpose of tracking criminals, supposedly. But these databases are just voluntary in a way, and nobody can control what is being done with them. There is, fortunately, recourse this is based on German law, but it's likely similar in most of the EU because it's based on EU directions. Spam filtering in general is not allowed without the user's consent, and that is, it's different for virus filtering. Virus filtering is, ISPs can do that as a sort of a self-defense mechanism. But spam filtering is not allowed at all without the user's consent. And this not only includes discarding spam, this includes adding headers and changing the subject line, or even just graylisting and delivering the email 15 minutes later. All of this is not allowed based on telecommunications regulation and Fernmeldegeheimnis and these things. So what ISPs must do is they have to tell people about what they are doing with their email. This is usually probably hidden somewhere in the business rules or allgemeine Geschäftsbedingungen or things like that, or people have to activate filters themselves by checking some sort of a box, please filter my email. So you really have the opportunity to know what is going on with your email in terms of filtering or restricting it or changing it. As usual in these cases, most users are not going to care. The regular end user is just glad that they don't get any spam and they will check filter on my email, but so this is sort of a call to you, maybe the more experienced users, to spread the word and tell people what is happening with their email and where their data is being collected and in which ways their communication is being restricted. So to conclude, in my opinion, email is very unreliable already today. Much of this, what I've talked about, is also based on personal experiences, just in my own email box. Users are starting to accept that email is unreliable. They say, well, I don't think I got your email. I think my spam filter ate it. Could you send it again, or could you call me up? And this is really a bad development. People are looking for alternatives to email. They are using instant messaging or sending using a fax machine or voice over IP or what have you, or SMS. To blame are, of course, those people who send spam or viruses, but I think the application of inappropriate junk email filters, annoying people through challenge response systems or bounce messages or restricting their communications in certain ways. If you can't send email on the first try because something is blocked, chances are you're not going to try again, just call the person up. So if you are implementing email filters, check what you're doing first. Do not install everything. Do not believe everything Spam Assassin installs for you, or do not believe all the options that your program gives you. Check what each technique is doing and how this impacts yourself and your users. Check if you work in an ISP, check all the databases that you have, that they're secured. Check that the graylisting database is secured and all these other things. And check what your ISP is doing with your email or the email of your associates. Okay, that is all. Any important questions? Because I think we have to kind of clear out for the next people. Okay, thanks.